Hello everybody and welcome back to Metatech. So today we are going over the top 5 programming languages for 2021 as 2020 is coming to a close. So before we get on to the video, I do want to let you guys know that even though I say these are the top 5, this is not in any necessary order because different languages are tailored to different programmers, whether it be your skill set or how long you've been programming. So let's just dive right on in. So I guess the next one will be rank 5, but the first language is going to be C/C++. Now I know this is 2 languages, but I grouped them into one because they're not similar languages, but the reasons that you would do them are nearly the same. So the first reason for doing C and C++ is that it makes you a better programmer. And this is because C and C++ are very low-level programming languages. So if you are used to doing Java or Python, or languages that are really simple, and say you can create random numbers with one function, or take user input with one function, now that's not really how it's going to work in C, and you have to make all these different algorithms, which can really make you a better programmer because it forces you to do more than if you were just using Java or Python, where a lot is given to you, where in C++ it might not be given to you, and there's not as many built-in functions. Number 2 reason for this is that it has high performance, and this is because since it is a low-level programming language, I don't think I said that correctly, is so basic that it runs very fast and has very high performance because there's not a lot of compiling to do. So that makes it very easy. Number 3 is that everything is based off of C/C++. And what I mean by this is that all these different programming languages were essentially built off of C and C++ because these were the beginning programming languages. For example, the Python interpreter, what interprets your Python code to run it, is actually built in C. So that's just one example. Reason number 4 for doing a C and C++ is that it's not going away anytime soon. C was made a long time ago, back in the 1970s, and it is still going strong today, and there is no sign of it leaving at any time. Number 5 is that it's good for security and hacking, similar to Python, which you might want to learn if you are a beginner. Then Python might be better for you if you're into security and hacking. But if you're an experienced programmer, then C and C++ is definitely the way to go. And number 6 is that C++ is good for game dev. It's one of the most popular game dev programming languages, if not the most popular. Now on to the next language, which is Golang. So this one is not nearly as popular as the rest of the languages mentioned in this video, but Golang is one of my favorites just because of how simple it is, but how high performing it is. So one of the reasons to use Golang is that it's just had a popularity spike over the last few years. It was not very popular back in 2015, but ever since then it has just rocketed upwards in popularity, and more people are going to use it. And so I see that in the future, if you're looking for a programming job, Golang might be a language that you want to have under your tool belt. Especially for companies like Google, which actually backs Golang, so that's also another advantage of having Golang. The other two other advantages that I already said were it's simple like Python, which makes it very easy to understand and program, so it's pretty good for beginners, maybe not great. But the other thing is that it has high performance like C, and it's very tough to have a simple programming language and also a programming language that is high performance, but Go satisfies both those requirements. Another one is it's optimized for concurrency, which is not something that a lot of people know what that means, but that basically means that it is able to do multiple things at the same time very fast, meaning that it can run multiple functions at the exact same time extremely easily, while other languages might run a lot slower because of 2 different functions running at the same time. But Go is very, very good at concurrency. So I haven't seen any other language that is as good as at concurrency as Go is. And the final one is it's very good for cloud computing. So if you're into that, Go is definitely the language to go for. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Next, C# and Java. And the reason I put these together is just because they are very, very similar languages. So you should definitely go check them out. So if you're a Java programmer, then switching to C# will be extremely easy for you, and same for Java if you are a C# programmer. And so reason number one for doing this is it is very good for enterprise level work. So if you want to work at a very big corporation which has a lot of code bases, databases, systems, then Java and C# are definitely the way to go. These are both very high power programming languages, so maybe C# is a little more powerful than Java, but Java is also very, very good. Reason number two is it can get you a very, very secure job. The average salary of a Java developer in the US is $100,000. You can search it up just to confirm, but I believe it is about $100,000, which is a lot for a developer, a lot for anybody, to be quite honest. Number three is you can use C# for game dev. So if anybody has used Unity, then you might know that Unity is actually used C#, which is a great programming language, and so definitely check that out if you're into game dev. Number four is, I already mentioned that in reason number one, but it is good for using large code bases and databases and systems. And number five is that it's great for beginners. And my first programming language was Java, so before I knew anything else, I started with Java. I've started to resort over to the fact that maybe you should learn Python first because it's very high level and it's easier to understand, but Java is also a great language because it helps you understand the fundamentals very, very easily. So on to number two, JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is the main language of the web, which is the number one reason to use it. I mean, there's no other main reason to use it except that it's the main language of the web. Meaning, anytime that you search up a web page, it is probably coded in JavaScript. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, where HTML is used for what it looks like. CSS, adds more to what it looks like, and JavaScript is kind of the back end. It adds the functionality. So that's really cool. So JavaScript is basically what's used for web programming, web development, so that's really very important. So if you want to make web pages, then JavaScript is definitely the way to go. Number two is it's basically a must-know for every programmer. It's very tough to get a job if you don't know JavaScript because basically everybody knows JavaScript. It's a very, very, very popular language, and that leads me to number three, which is it is one of the, if not the most used language in the world. Now, according to online things, Python is the most popular, but that's because I don't think a lot of people say JavaScript is a programming language, but I definitely would call it that. But I would definitely know JavaScript. If you don't know JavaScript and you're looking for a job, you might have a bit of a tough time. Reason number four, it's a super dynamic language. Basically, you can change a lot of things. For example, just on a very simple level, variables, now this has changed in recent times, used to be just using the word var. So similar to Python, you could change variables to different data types without changing the variable. In Java, you can't do that, but in JavaScript you can. And it's also a very super dynamic language in many other ways, but that is one of the very simple ways. Number five is it has a ton of resources. Basically, if you have any problem in JavaScript, you can just search it up, and you'll probably find the answer on Stack Overflow somewhere. So I highly recommend that. So basically, if you run into any problems, it's probably been answered on the internet, or you could just ask it on Stack Overflow or something, and it would be answered easily. And number six is it's extremely popular, kind of a... that's why it has a ton of resources. That's kind of a side effect of its popularity. It's the most used language in the world. And number seven is it has many frameworks like React, Angular, and Vue. And basically what these are they frameworks that allow you to combine your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all into one. and it has many different things. So you can really toy around with JavaScript a lot and customize it and really work on it however you want. So that's why you should use JavaScript. I was thinking of making JavaScript number 1 for this video, but I decided to leave it at number 2 because number 1 is Python. So this is probably the best programming language for beginners. So reason number 1, super simple, super high level programming, which means that basically a lot of stuff is built in. For example, the input function, like I mentioned earlier, in C you would have to make an algorithm for that, but for Python there's just input parentheses, what do you want to ask the user. So that's what makes Python really, really easy. It's super simple, super high level, a lot of stuff is built into it. Number 2, it's very good for machine learning. Basically all machine learning is written in Python. Maybe not all of it, but a lot. Majority of machine learning is written in Python, and it's super easy, super good for machine learning. Actually, I wouldn't say it's super easy. Machine learning is a very advanced concept. You need to know calculus and stuff like that. But machine learning is very, very good for Python. Number 3 is it is the most popular according to the PyPL, I think it's called, PYPL index, and it has a ton of jobs. So another one where if you search it up, I believe that the average salary is $100,000 for a developer, Python developer in the U.S. So Python is great for if you're looking for a job. Python and JavaScript are 2 languages that you should have under your tool belt when you're looking for a job. Number 4 is it's good for security and hacking. So basically, similar to C, like I said when I was talking about C, is it's very good for security and hacking. So definitely do check Python out if you are into that. Number 5 is it's similar to JavaScript in that it has a ton of amazing libraries and frameworks. But do not get carried away by this. Because a lot of people say, oh, I can use 30 libraries, so I'm a programmer now. But basically what a library is, if you don't know, it's basically using someone else's code in your project, and someone makes a bunch of functions in a library, and you use those functions in your project. But basically by doing that, even though you still need to code a lot, you are still using someone else's code, which is why I recommend C for advanced programmers, because using a library is basically using someone else's code. So you're not doing any actual programming yourself. You are by calling functions and stuff, but don't get carried away by using libraries. But Python does have a lot of libraries, so if you want to have a lot of fun doing Python, libraries definitely the way to go. And number 6, it has lots of interfaces for other languages, making it very easy to use other languages. I'm not going to go into too much depth over that. And number 7 is it's very good for beginners. I already mentioned this earlier, but basically Python is just incredible for beginners because it's very, very high level. And unlike C, there's a lot of built-in functionality that you can use for Python. And that's really all the reasons for this video. And basically, one last thing I wanted to say is that when I say that $100,000 for average developer and you should get a job because you know this language, that's not what I mean. And a lot of employers are actually looking for people who are good at problem solving, not at whether you're good at Java, JavaScript, Python. You could know 30 languages and you still might not get hired because you come across as not a nice person, or maybe you don't have great problem solving. You just kind of memorized everything and you know a lot of stuff. But that's not really what companies are looking for. If there's a bug in a program, they're not looking for someone who's memorized all of the parts, all of the functions in a programming language. They're looking for someone who has good problem solving and can easily fix that bug. So I just want to get that out of the way, because a lot of people think I can learn 50 programming languages and I'm going to get hired. Now you might get hired if you know 50 programming languages. That's a lot, but you need to have good problem solving, and that's what companies are looking for, not someone who knows a lot of things and have just memorized a bunch of stuff. So that's it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one because this video is already too long. So, peace.